This is a quick overview of a watchmaker's lathe and the different parts. And just to show you what you can make on a watchmaker's lathe. You can see that right there. That has about 6 or 7 different facets to it. It's got a pivot on each end and a table, undercut table, a couple shoulders. The ends are probably 12 thousandths, the pivots. But that's an idea of what you make on a lathe, watchmaker's lathe. So watchmaker's lathe is a little like a woodworker's lathe in that you have a tool rest that you can move along and you can raise up and down. And then it has a, generally you cut with something called a graver. So you would rest it on here, and just like you're cutting with the wood lathe, you'd cut your part. This anvil part can come out and you can get like a filing rest, and it's 2 rollers. So if you need to make a flat, like you're going to make a square piece of a square end on a round piece, you'd adjust this and then just file across here and then rotate this. There's indexing pins, holes in here, and you can stick a pin in there to index it. That fell out in shipping, but you can lock this in. There's 60 holes, so you can do all different combinations. And then you have the tailstock, which is more like a regular lathe, in that you can go in and out. It also holds the same collets that the headstock takes. There's a drawbar. So you can put in like a drill or whatever you want to hold, a live center, dead center. Typically it's a dead center. And you can turn something between centers. This locks this going this way. Something else that fell off in shipping, this little lever here locks. There's a anvil in there, or a pin that comes up, and there's a round piece that goes in the slot, and that locks that from going in and out if you're like going between centers. And then this collar here you can loosen and slide it back and forth and make like a drill stop if you're doing repeated parts or something like that. Variable speed in that you have to change the pulley combinations on the motor and the headstock. The headstock you can actually loosen and move around. And then it's just got plain bearings and an oil cup at the front and back here. You can loosen these. Right now, this slot is facing up on the nuts that hold it together. That takes up the end play. And you can put oil down in the slots and it'll fall down into the plain bearings. Leaven that makes this lathe is extremely accurate. It has less than 50 millionths run out on the headstock. So that's the basic thing, and I'll show you a couple of modifications that I've made. I'll take off the tailstock, and I'll take this rest out. Okay, so that comes out. And what I've done is I actually took 2 cross slides for a TEG lathe, but they were too tall to get the center height correct. So what I've done is I've machined both of them this piece thinner so that it gets it down to the height of the center. And if you look the way the cutter is, it's on the bottom here because the top of this is the center of the lathe minus a couple thousandths. Those are 1,000th shim strips, and that gets me to where I want to go. So now, there's this wheel will lock this into place. So this is goes a thousandth at a time. This bottom is locked right now. Anyway, you can cut this way. Right now the tool is set up to cut a facing cut, but you can take it loose, flip this around, and make the tool go this way to cut this direction. So that was one modification. The other one was this was an optical slide. Again, I machined down the surfaces. This goes on here, and that same lock nut holds it in place. And the tool cutter goes in here. And this now gives me about 5/10 accuracy. It's 0.5 millimeter. The only issue is these slides, you can see, they're really nice slides. They're ball bearing slides, but it's just held in place by a spring. So this, you can see it snaps back. The problem with that is if you're not careful on how you're cutting, you can pull it away from the stop and into the work. So you have to make sure you always have your cutter's always going to be pushing against the work, and there's no way the cutter's going to pull into the work. But this is a little smaller, gives me, I can get in here a little closer. Like I said, gives me about 5/10,000ths and virtually no backlash, where this one has quite a bit of backlash. Anyway, that's Watchmakers Lathe and some of the modifications I've done. Now, one other thing. You can get gear cutting, like a milling attachment. They make all different kinds of cross slides. You can have this set up like any other type of lathe in that they make gear cutting attachment, with like a lead screw type thing on here. There's a ton of stuff you can get to make it do more stuff, but traditionally they didn't have a whole lot of that. They did most of the stuff by hand,